This broadcast is intended for mature audiences. There will be thoughts and opinions expressed that in no way reflect this station, website, or affiliated partners.
Space, the final frontier.
Hello and welcome. What? Who are you?
I don't know. Where am I?
What's this? We've got extra voices in here.
Well, maybe we have extra voices.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think some time streams have got crossed here.
Sir,
Well-
message coming in from Starfleet. Apparently there are temporal incursions occurring all over the Federation.
Damn it, Wesley! Well, hello. I'm MidNite Shadow, and with us today we have got a whole heap of people. From Tribbles and Ecstasy, I'm your host MidNite Shadow, and we have Skipper. No, we don't. He's not here. We have Sunseahl.
Hello.
We have Woody.
G'day everyone.
And from the Foundry Roundtable, who are with us doing this podcast mashup, we have Drogon1701.
Greetings, everyone.
We have Greendragoon.
Hello.
And Markhawkman.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Surely you should let them introduce themselves.
Oh, I think he did. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Well,
And
it's
we
better
also-
They
than
usually tell horrible lies about everybody, and you know, this is much better. This is like truth coming out here.
It's a proper introduction.
What do you mean coming out? Are you trying to get all funny up in here?
No, not again.
No, we don't want to drag Woody through all that again.
But we also have another guest. We have Nick Swinford from Stonewall Fleet. Hi, Nick.
Hey there.
Now, one of the first things we're going to talk about is Pride Weekend, which is on next weekend. Now, Nick, can you tell us a little bit about STO Pride and sort of the background, sort of what's going to be happening, when it's going to be happening, and how people can join in?
Well, the STO Pride, or the Pride Weekend, this will be our 6th year running it, so it's our 6th annual Pride Weekend, and it's basically 2 days of events and contests and prizes and just lots of fun going on in game. That's, part of what Stonewall Fleet does as, one of the largest LGBT guilds or fleets in Star Trek Online. We've done it, basically since the game's gone. It's one of our funnest events, and we try to invite the entire community out to come and have fun and enjoy the weekend with us.
So, when's all this going on then?
It is the weekend of July 11th and 12th. We pretty much have events from noon Eastern time to about 11 o'clock at night Eastern time. You can check out the entire schedule of events at stonewallfleet.com/pride.
And we'll also have these links in our show notes as well, if anybody wants to check it out. So, what do people need to do in order to join in? Do they just turn up? Do they need to register in any way?
For the most part, no, you don't really have to do anything. You should join our in-game channel, STO Pride, and that's the main channel where we use to facilitate and organize all of the events during the weekend. You can just join that with /channel_STO Pride. The only event that really needs to be registered with is our PvP tournament, which will be going on all weekend, which the information on how to register for that is on our page. And And then we have a Stonewall pageant that will be going on that weekend, which will be a lot of fun that you might want to check out and see how you get ready for it.
Fantastic. Now, can you tell us a little bit about Stonewall and the name of the fleet? Because there's actually a meaning behind all that, isn't there?
Of course. Stonewall Fleet, it's named after the Stonewall Riots, which were a series of riots in June of 1969, which sort of kicked off the gay and lesbian rights movement.
Which is actually really interesting because a lot of people don't. A lot of people understand it as the pivotal moment that kicks off the LGBT rights movement. But a lot of people don't really realize that what happened at Stonewall, that the actual riots that occurred were started by a lot of trans people.
Definitely, as the story goes, it was the drag queen who threw the first shoe that really kicked it off. That for the first time showed LGBT people that they didn't have to take police oppression and oppression like that. That they could actually stand up for themselves. And that kind of those riots there's just had a profound effect, not just locally in New York City, but throughout the rest of the United States, and has grown to the entire world. And that's why today we have pride parades in June throughout the entire world.
Now, the anniversary that's just happened, hasn't it? Of those riots, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, just a couple years ago we hit the 40th anniversary.
And it seems sort of quite fitting, given that around the anniversary time, you guys in America have actually had a sort of huge announcement from the High Courts, haven't you?
Yep, just a few days ago, on the 28th, we got nationwide marriage equality, which was amazing news.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic, and sort of the timing. I think it sort of fitted in well for sort of the equality side of things, and I'm sort of glad that the US is another country that's promoting equality, even though I know a lot of people still don't agree, unfortunately.
Yeah, the timing was actually quite perfect. Sorry, apologies. Because not only was it, close to Pride, but it was also on the same date that they issued the ruling for Windsor versus the United States, which was another very important step in marriage equality in the United States. But it's also directly related to Loving versus West Virginia, or versus Virginia, which ended the race bans on marriage in the United States. So it's a very important date.
Sorry, yeah, just so you know, it's going to be a private members bill for the with the marriage here in Australia, because it's totally different system to the United States. It's all part of the Constitution in the Marriage Act that it's it's still listed as being husband and wife only, or man and woman only. There's a private members bill that's going to be introduced when Parliament resits after the winter break in August to see if we can actually do amendment to changes to the marriage law here. So just so you know.
That's good.
I don't know how well it's going to go, but because it's all going through Parliament and with like a Congress and the Senate, so it's a bit of a mixed view at the moment. So we just had to wait and find out and see what happens.
Well, the fact that the conversations and debates are actually going on is progress. So,
yeah, I think I've seen a few polls have shown that the majority of Australians do support marriage equality, and I mean overall, you have a much better acceptance of homosexuality than here in the United States, where it's still a very controversial issue.
It probably does have some controversial issues here in Australia. It's probably just not as big and noticeable as what it would be over in the United States. So, it is a bit of a tough subject, because there's people in government who pretty much says, well, we're not really worried about this. We're worried about getting our economy back up and running again, and and security with the ISIS threat and all that. And so we're not real worried about that at the moment. And the our Prime Minister Tony Abbott, he's pretty much a staunch Catholic. So his views is pretty much nothing's going to change here, even though he's got a sister who's actually lesbian. Sydney's City Council as a councillor there, so it is a bit of a conversation here, but it's probably compared to the United States, it's probably not going to be a very go overboard with it type thing.
Well, we Americans like to go overboard.
You're
On
telling
everything.
me? You're telling me it's sort of like...
Didn't we spend like a whole thing throwing tea overboard?
Yeah,
Good
but that was
times.
for a different reason, and honestly, that was more entertaining than most of the demonstrations related to this.
We threw the tea overboard and went, "Coffee, bitch!"
Well, also the simple fact is too, because you guys seem to have your independence, England couldn't find anywhere to put their convicts, so they went and set them all down in Australia. So if you guys didn't have your revolution, we wouldn't have Australia. Well, probably would have had Australia, but not right then.
Well, you're welcome.
I heard a quote that
So,
said,
so it does have its benefits.
America got the Protestants and Australia got the prisoners, and Australia got the better end of the deal.
Never heard that one before. Kind of hate it.
Now, Nick, is there any way that players can help out? Is there anything that you guys need, as in volunteers, prizes?
Prizes always help. We kind of dust out the back of the closet when it comes to Pride, and we kind of pull out all of our best stuff. So, if anyone has some stuff that they wouldn't mind donating to kind of replenish our stocks after this, and or stuff they want us to give out this year, we would very much appreciate it.
Well, what I'll do is, on behalf of Tribbles, I will provide 5 million energy credits, and I think I've got some ships as well. And I'll also give some codes as well for some Zen. So I shall sort that out with you this weekend.
I'm afraid we're rather more poor over on the Foundry Roundtable side.
All of your money is in dilithium, and that's not exchangeable, is it?
Exactly.
Unfortunately not, no.
We may exaggerate our dilithium sums.
Well, thank you for letting us know about this weekend. Fortunately, this year we were able to get you on a little bit earlier than the Friday before, so hopefully a few more listeners can sort of get the message and join in, because it was a lot of fun last year, and I'm looking forward to it this year.
Thank you guys very much. I hope you all come down and have a good, fun weekend.
Would you like to stick around and join in the conversations for the Star Trek Online news and everything else that we're doing, or do you have to disappear?
I'm going to head out, I think.
Not a problem. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck for next weekend.
Bye.
Take care. Now, on to Star Trek Online news. First of all, for people listening live, we have actually got a bonus XP weekend currently going on. So that's for all XP in the game, which is basically 100% bonus, if I recall. And that is going on until Monday, 6th of July, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have definitely been utilizing it. I know I've already gotten a character to 50 and working on another one.
Well, it's definitely good if you've got some extra recruits which need to be leveled up. So for anyone who got some extra Delta recruits recently, which still need a bit of leveling up, now is a good time. Especially if you run some of the missions that you haven't run for the first time, because that gives you a lot of XP to begin with for the first runs, and you will be able to get a bonus on those. So definitely worth getting in game this weekend. Now, we've also had a new roleplay blog, so it's another one of the Tales of War. It's number 11, and again, it's another one from the Klingon side. Now, it's really good seeing these stories develop, and it's more about sort of them. They've sort of taken a big hit. They're sort of feeling a bit diminished, but they're not giving up. Definitely well written. As I've sort of discussed before, it would be really good if we could actually get a lot of this sort of text sort of out of just the website and sort of in game, even if it's just going to a console like you do through the reputation system, because it's got some really good story sort of telling in it.
They have a bit of a history of that, don't they? With things being written in the magazines and on the website, and it just never quite shows up in game. And unfortunately, I mean, if you don't go to those other media outlets, you're going to miss it. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that that happens, and I think it would be a sort of a nice thing to do, or even if you had to, there are NPCs of these characters where they told the story, like, I don't know, even DS9 going to Quark's bar and you see one of the team telling the story, even if it's not exactly the same text. I just think it would be really nice, or if you could even associate accolades to it. And
something I've always wanted to see is them to reopen Memory Alpha as a lore hub, which would be a good place to store these kind of stories, as long as things like the Path to 24/9 and all of these various background elements that aren't obvious in game.
That's an interesting thought. Because, yeah, at the moment, Memory Alpha is still gone from the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even social hub now, which is annoying.
Well, that I didn't quite mind, because I always hated that map.
It had Foundry doors on it, and there's no equivalent for those doors in the current game.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had Foundry missions that utilized it and you know, had actual like objectives on the map, you know, go talk to somebody and that sort of thing, which unfortunately just sort of got erased. So if you didn't redo your mission, there was no way to complete it.
Well, I suppose old missions where people aren't playing anymore, I suppose they won't have been published again. Because didn't you have to go through a manual republish in the last couple of...
We've gone through several automatic republishes, and actually during the last one, you know, it does it for you. But during the last one, there was a bug where, you know, the new sector space, things didn't translate quite a little bit. And a lot of missions in the beta quadrant didn't get republished automatically. So there may be some of those that used to be on Memory Alpha, couldn't really be completed anymore, and are now unpublished.
Yeah, with me personally, I've been finding that any of the missions just goes to doors. Like I've had a couple of missions that's changed now that started on First City or on ESD, and they never got published. I had to go in and publish them myself, so they never got the auto-publish happening.
Well, one thing that is, I guess, a positive with the loss of Memory Alpha is that if you do it right, you can rebuild your mission to kind of use Memory Alpha, because we do have Foundry assets with a similar geometry. Although Memory Alpha had certain rooms in its interior that used assets we can't place in Foundry, we have things with a similar theme, like those annoying doors that you get stuck on constantly. They're a very recognizable aspect of Memory Alpha, and we have those in the Foundry, as annoying as they are.
I always thought it would be fun.
We had that big sun sculpture hologram or whatever it was in the main room. That thing was cool.
Yeah, the giant glowing thing was awesome.
Can I say we're impressed by shiny objects?
We are, yes.
I think that's actually still Actually, I think that's still actually in the game, because I remember with this upcoming Foundry mission I'm about to play, we have something along that nature in one of the rooms, so it might be still around.
There are certain specific things on the old Memory Alpha map we don't have. Most notable are the big depressions in the floor, because we have most of the tables and consoles that they have in Memory Alpha, the floating crates and all that stuff, we have those. But, it's the really big stuff we don't have.
I always thought it'd be cool to do a design in the new Memory Alpha as sort of a Foundry contest.
That
does
sound intriguing.
It's one of those things that Cryptic's never going to want to put the resources into redesigning something, because it's such a transient addition to the game. But we Foundry authors are all about throwing tons of effort against transient goals.
Well, the issue is with Memory Alpha is, of course, as always, the place for R&D. But sort of as a nice way to move on to the next subject, there was a blog with MMORPG where they interviewed Al, and one of the things they talked about was the new fleet holding that we're getting, which is going to be sort of doing more with R&D itself. So I think that makes doing something with Memory Alpha sort of less likely, especially in the short term.
Well, the part about the removal of Memory Alpha I could never understand is that they could have simply, made it so that the R&D stuff was no longer functional and just let people wander around it as an empty social zone, like Andoria. I mean, to me that seems like it was a viable option, but that's not what they chose to do.
I think it's one of those cases of, I think most of us will agree that for the most part, Memory Alpha is kind of an eyesore. It's launch content, and not to diss the tremendous amount of work that must have gone on to get the STO out the door in the short amount of time they had to develop it. But it shows its age. It isn't as high quality as the stuff they've done since, and kind of like the exploration zones, they just kind of felt that it did more harm by its presence than it did good.
Well, you could also say that it totally got replaced and pretty much not needed anymore and decommissioned because of the R&D crafting system they put into the game. So it's just literally not worth actually hanging on to it anymore and just getting rid of it altogether. So in some hindsight, they could easily say that they shot themselves in the foot with what they wanted to do with Memory Alpha as a whole.
Well, coming from watching a couple of those episodes, if you remember, Memory Alpha wasn't just like this R&D place, though. It was like the central collection of all the Federation's collected everything. That's why it was called Memory Alpha.
Well, wasn't it also like some alien ruin that had a giant computer in it or something too?
I believe so, but I can't remember offhand.
And I think that's kind of what Greendragoon's suggestion is about, is making it more like a library of knowledge and storing all of this lore rather than a crafting place. And it would give Cryptic the opportunity to completely redo the map or something.
That sounds
make it really
like
nice.
A good idea to me as well.
Because they could stick the lore in from all factions as well, so it's not just specific to one faction. And especially now the maps
now that everybody can go everywhere
in sector space, everyone can get there. And part of the tutorial could be at particular points during sort of your progress is to actually, even if it's an optional, is to go and learn the lore about sort of what's been happening as you sort of progress through the missions.
And the best part is it could be considered another free port, kind of like Deep Space Nine is, so that Klingons would actually be able to go and do their stuff there as well.
One of the best things about the Sector Space revamp is that now that Klingons can simply fly north to Battle Group Omega, they actually have a social hub that they can go to without going all the way to Qonas or DS9, because previously they did not have one on the north side of the galaxy at all.
Can Klingons beam down to Risa normally when the event is not on?
They enabled that recently. So
that
yes.
came with the new sector relaunch.
Just new Risa, not old Risa.
No,
not old Risa.
Yeah, the classic map is still Federation only, I believe. But Pax,
I checked that
Radica,
out today when my Gorn beamed down.
But yeah, in the Foundry Roundtable Twitch chat, Pax Radica actually mentions about the classic Risa map as well, being one of those areas which isn't really used anymore. Though, unlike Memory Alpha, that's still accessible.
Classic
we should
Risa
mention
was
that...
never used for anything, ever. As a
True.
vendor that sells the
terraforming
systems, and that was it.
I should mention that this episode is going out over both the Foundry Roundtable stream on Twitch and the Tribbles and Ecstasy Holosuite Media Twitch as well. So we got both of these going at the same time.
Yep, we're mashing up the Twitch streams as well as the podcast. So, one of the times that you want to cross the streams.
Yes.
Kidding, I've been waiting for the universe to end since the show started.
It's only been how long since we started that we're mentioning this?
Half hour?
I didn't want to alarm anyone.
Right? I hate temporal mechanics.
That's okay. We can, fire up our temporal whatchamacallit that we get from one of the Delta Rising things, and that'll go right to the beginning of the show.
Or we can just fire up Anorax's time ship that we're getting in a new lockbox.
Yeah, but that doesn't
and erase the whole show from existence. Oh God.
No.
Yeah, that wouldn't go back in time. It just erases things from time.
Well,
that's okay. I'm sure we can all think of things.
We could get rid of the Department of Temporal Investigations. That would be nice.
Yeah, nobody likes them.
No, I've got a character in the Department of Temporal Investigations.
You better move to Section 31.
Now
that character has never existed.
Now going back to this blog, the main thing it was covering is actually the new Armada system. So fleets can finally get fleet help. Now there's also been a blog about it on the Star Trek Online website as well. So links will be in our show notes for these. Now, what's going to happen is you can now team up. So you'll have a top level fleet. So that would usually be the biggest fleet. So a fleet that's maxed out everywhere, which will be the Alpha fleet. And you can then invite up to 3 other fleets to become beta fleets. And those fleets can invite 3 of their own fleets to become gamma fleets. So the whole Armada size will be up to 13 fleets in total. And depending at which level you are, will depend on sort of what you get in regards to rewards. Now, they've built in some systems in place, so in order to invite and sort of boot fleets from the system, a bit like with the sort of top rank for the actual fleets themselves, there's going to be cooldown periods and voting and things like that, so people can say, no, I don't want them to leave, and or if everybody agrees, yes, they're all to be there to be left immediately, it'll go a lot quicker. So they've built-in security to this, but it's definitely a welcome sort of improvement to the game. It's something which a lot of people have been sort of crying out for quite a while now.
Ever since the fleet system became about getting stuff and contributing things.
Yeah.
People have been asking for help in some way for small fleets, and this seems to be able to provide it. Obviously, people will have to test and not figure out all the ins and outs in the system. They did answer a few questions over on Reddit, I noticed, during the week, and one of them was, can you, in these big fleet armadas, can you have cross-faction? Can you have KDF and Fed Fleet? And unfortunately, right now, no, you can't.
Yeah, we had Jeremy Randall Borticus. He said that in the forums as well.
It's not a system, though, so they're not telling what the actual finished version will look like.
Yeah, and they did mention they may investigate and see if they can do that at some point.
Yeah,
I think the hard
it's also...
I was going to say, I think the hard part, though, is just that the disparate nature of the two factions. Because, I mean, look how much headaches have been surrounded the Romulans as a split faction. And I don't think it's a case of they don't want to. It's just a matter of it is such a pain because the system views them as these two very different entities.
Yeah, they're still down as blue versus red within the sort of game back end. But it'd be good if, because we do have social areas which are open to all factions, so it would be good to extend basically all the fleet areas to actually all of them to be cross-faction, so you can invite people, because what's in these areas are the same for both factions. So yeah, it would be.
But
really
it would make
nice.
it difficult from a story standpoint if, and obviously we know they have story planned out through next year, like the middle of next year at least, because of comments that have been made by the devs. And you know what happens if after the Iconian War is done, there's a pulling apart of the factions. You know, we've all been getting closer, been getting cuddly, alliancey, all that kind of stuff. You know, what if after this war is over, we start hitting each other again?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Now you have all these things that are.
We're not gonna hit each other when we have to deal with Superboard. Come on.
The real question is, how is the Iconian War going to end? That's going to tell us a lot about what happens down the road. And my best guess is that they're going to end the Iconian War by setting up the next threat. What that is of course unknown as of yet, but you know, they're thinking of something. I'm
could
really
be this
hoping
other.
Possibly.
Well, the other, yeah, we don't know what that is, and that's one of those things that's been kind of nagging at me. It's like, wait a second, why haven't they said what the other is yet? They keep talking about it, but they never say anything about what it is. And of course, there's the fact that we know that the Iconians live in multiple galaxies at this time.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're ever going to split up the factions, because there's now too much effort being made to basically bring them all together and to allow sort of things to be more cross-faction. I think to break that apart would just sort of complicate things, because already there's a lot of things that don't make sense. Sort of like you go fighting the Klingons, but yet you can still go and visit them technically if you flew out that far, if you could wait that long to actually get there. And
I mean, we're absolutely to a point where it's very difficult to pull apart again. And so, I mean, I wouldn't, but you know, what I don't have any control over Cryptic. I don't know what they want to do.
Yeah, undoing the Fed Klingon alliance, I just can't visualize them doing that at this time. Although I really have to wonder what their next expansion is going to be, because they're probably going to announce one in a few months.
Well, yeah, well, if you look at the calendars and stuff, or look at the in-game calendar at the moment, it like shows what we've pretty much gone through with Time in the Bottle, the Riser event. Then there's nothing right through August. So obviously there's going to be this as mentioned on the MMORPG.com article, that we'll have a season 10.5 coming up. And I know they're pretty much looking at season 11 already, because last week Zeronius Rex actually tweeted a photo of all of them in a room and looking at a PowerPoint presentation sort of thing. If you look closely at that PowerPoint presentation, it says right at the top, season 11. So obviously they're starting to get their focus onto season 11 now, and they'll probably come out in November. So you probably find with the if there's going to be expansion coming out, they'll probably do a big announcement thing like they did at Vegas last year, and
which is coming up again.
Yeah, it'll be
next month.
Yeah, or in 2016, because usually there'd be like a 2-year gap between actual expansions from the
and we haven't heard if they'll have any
Delta
presence
Rising
at STLV yet. It's fair to say they probably will have something.
I believe that there was a recent interview that said that they were going to be at STLV this year.
Yeah, they are going to be there, but they haven't said in what capacity and whether or not they're going to be doing any more panels.
Spoiler alert!
To not be there, but
they're probably keeping quiet because they don't want to spoil it, and they're hiding something that they want to surprise everyone.
I would expect that they're going to announce season 11.
Well, here's the thing though. The way the MMORPG article read, it seemed like all of this stuff with the new fleet holding and everything was coming out the same time as the next featured episode.
Yeah,
which would have been which would be in about a week or two.
Yeah.
It could be. They haven't said when it's coming.
Yeah, so we're just estimating.
Yeah, I think what we do know that is coming with 10.5 is the next fleet holding, which is the science station, the Krenim science station.
One thing I noticed when doing the last FE is that they created an icon for Krenim faction characters. Because if you click on one of the Krenim NPCs on the ground in the mission, it'll pop up a little standard box, and it has this green version of the logo that you had inside Anorak's ship in the TV show.
That's pretty standard for every NPC faction. They all have their appropriate logos.
I don't tend to click on the NPCs to bring that up, so I hadn't noticed it personally.
Yeah, in Foundry missions, that's how you tell what mobs used to be before they were reskinned.
But yeah, it's definitely welcome change to have the Armada in. What's going to happen is, according to the image that Trendy created, that there's going to be a new tab on the fleet window, which actually says Armada, and you've actually got from there, you can then view and manage everything, or at least the fleet leads will be able to. So there are some tabs for overview, roster, and holdings. So hopefully what will happen is if you click on holding and you click on one of the other fleets, you'll be able to see the different holdings and then sort of contribute somewhere or another to there.
Countdown till people start naming their armadas Armada and Armada 2.
I'm going to go with that's going to be taken the first day. Correction, first hour.
By me, because I loved Armada.
Gotta get on that. But I definitely.
I only have a little personal banking fleet for my Delta recruits only, so I don't think I could be an Alpha fleet or anything. Gamma at best.
Yeah, I've got 3 personal fleets that could very easily be Gamma fleets.
But I think it could be beneficial for that sort of thing, because then, you know, I have all sorts of projects that I'm never going to finish myself. I don't really even plan to or anything, but I could be a part of Armada, and, you know, people from the fleet above me can contribute to my projects and get their fleet credits that they need, and I get the things done.
And by people from other fleets, he means random strangers that you may have not met. But hey, the important part is that the projects get done.
Well, you know, I would probably join up with Starbase UGC or, you know, people I know.
The only downside to not filling it yourself is that you don't get the fleet credits for filling it. Whoever actually fills it gets the fleet credits.
In small fleets, it's so easy to get free credits, just because you're the one. You basically, it's unrestricted for you to dump stuff into your fleet.
Well, and this is how it helps larger fleets, because larger fleet, you know, for an individual person, it might be hard to actually find something to be able to contribute to, because there's so many other people contributing. So you can take a look at somebody's project on a lower fleet below you and say, hey, that's open. I can contribute to that and get my fleet marks or fleet credits that I need.
Well, Malati has over 1 million fleet credits, and I actually don't go out of my way to have her gain a particularly large amount. Truth is, most of the characters in the Federation Reborn fleet of mine have somewhere in that neighborhood, simply because of the fact that it's a relatively small fleet, and
you have lots of opportunities to contribute.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be wanting to spend
side,
those,
though,
because
is that when I'm in KDF, I'm a member of a fleet called House of the Forsaken, which is a relatively large fleet. And if I want to donate fleet marks to a project, I need to wait until a currently completing project counts down. And then, as soon as the next one becomes available, click on the Contribute Marks button before someone else does.
Well, you'll be wanting to spend those fleet credits soon, because part of that new holding is some things that give you extra trait slots. They're quite expensive. Like 150,000.
I heard it also has some nifty kit module too, and those are probably not going to be cheap either.
Hopefully, what we see with the hopefully what we see with the new fleet holding is actually kits being put into R&D. For the love of God, let us upgrade the kits.
Sure. I'll take
well, I've never seen R&D as part of a fleet anything, so maybe they will make R&D recipes something that you can buy from your fleet for that, but that's about the extent that I can visualize them doing that.
Yeah, it's definitely
but it could be
interesting.
Done at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where they're going to take this R&D thing as part of the fleet holding.
Tired of going to Starfleet Academy to click the button for request R&D assistance? Now you can do it in fleet holding.
Well, that costs 1,000 dilithium, so I don't do that. It's just like, no.
I take my hard-earned dilithium.
It's the only way to get the R&D DOFs.
Are you kidding? I just
got the R&D
wait.
Get them off the exchange.
I say, just wait for the next
my Romulan
DOF box to come out.
A thing to remember is that Aegis is a special thing because they're all bind on pickup, so you kind of have to do the R&D thing if you want one. That or open a certain specific lockbox, because apparently...
What was it, the last Xindi lockbox?
Not the most recent one, the first Xindi lockbox. Has a Jefferson Hawk DOF that comes out of it, but you can only get him if you open the lockbox yourself and you have an empty slot on your DOF roster when you open the lockbox.
That sounds like
apparently, if it chooses him as a reward, it goes directly to your DOF roster. It doesn't go into a package that you can sell in the exchange.
In your inventory.
rest of the DOFs that you get that way can be sold on the exchange, but not Jefferson Hawk.
Or his Rom or Ferengi counterpart was a Gumair.
Gumar, on certain occasions, you can, if you're lucky, you can get him from the Request R&D Assistance mission.
Yeah.
Which, for most people, is going to be how they get an Aegis DOF.
I know I got mine from leveling out the old system.
I have several copies of Gumar.
I never bothered with the old system.
I maxed that out, so when I sort of got carried over to the new system, I got a load of DOFs from R&D, so I haven't really needed to sort of get any. So,
but in all fairness, I mean, the Aegis DOFs aren't that necessary. I mean, the Aegis set is the only thing they credit. While it's not a bad set, it's there's certainly better sets out of reputation.
Yeah, I haven't actually, because I'm now level 20 on 2 schools, nearly 3. The rest are all 16. And I still haven't actually crafted the Aegis set yet. I'm going to wait till I've maxed out on 20 and then I'll probably do that. So hopefully
I've only used Aegis on one character, and after she got Aegis, I literally never used any other equipment in those categories, just because I like it that much.
The new crafted Aegis set, is that now account bound after you equip it? Or is that put
I want to say
supposed to be, but I haven't tested it.
Yeah,
mine is character bound, but I crafted it back before Aegis had a dilithium cost in the old system.
Okay, so it's the old system, yeah, because they were all character bound, because there was talk of it being account bound, but I never
it is account bound.
So
account bound and equip.
Because out of all my characters, I do have a lot of low level ones, so it'd be really good to be able to send it over when the others.
That said, I believe it is no longer crafted as levelless. It's now automatically Mark 12.
Yeah, okay. So you have to be level what? Is it 50?
Rear Admiral.
Yeah, I think
50.
Yeah, 12 would be 50.
There have been certain items, and I honestly can't remember which ones now, that I have observed that you can equip before 50, but most of them not.
Okay, I just looked at my Aegis, and it says Rear Admiral upper half.
Okay, so that's what, 45?
45, yeah.
Or when you can start using Mark 12 gear.
Interesting. Well, some of the other things that have been listed in the blog as well is, especially for fleet leaders, welcome improvement, is a way to actually export your fleet member list. So it will include information such as the status column, the join date, rank change date, sort of all the information like that, and it'll export it into an Excel CSV file. Now, from what the blog says on artgames.com, it looks like it'll be a new command, so it won't be an option within the actual fleet system itself. So you can't just go to your fleet window and have an option. You'll actually have to put the command into the chat window. So you'll just have to put /export guild member list in, and that will generate a CSV file. So I'd expect that probably just generates it to a particular folder within your hard drive. A bit like with the keybinds, it looks for a default location, and screenshots, again, it defaults to a particular place. So I think that's probably what's going to happen with it personally.
Well, I mean, if you're smart enough to do anything with an Excel file, you're probably smart enough to figure out a command keybind.
Exactly. But no, it's definitely good, especially for the large fleets as well, or fleets, because there are a lot of fleets where your progress within the fleet is actually based on how much you've actually donated to the fleet itself. So that's really going to help those fleet leaders, because it means they can just export it and they can actually sort of they can compare columns, they can do sorts and filters within Excel and all these other things. So it's definitely going to be a very sort of welcome addition to the fleet system that I know a lot of people are going to be very happy with. So moving on, we have Thomas the Cryptic Cat Marrone. He tweeted that all the recruitment posters that we've got for the Carrion War, he has actually uploaded that to his DeviantArt page. So if you do like them, take a look there. And he says to download the 6K plus resolution ones, just follow the download instructions they had in his tweet. Basically, you right click and save as instead of just clicking on it. I haven't actually checked it out properly myself. Links will be in show notes, and I've just put the link.
DeviantArt has a special button in its user interface for downloading the full-size version of whatever you're looking at. And that always gives you the largest resolution. What you see when you're looking at it on the page may or may not be the full-size version. The person who uploads it has several options that they can choose on how it's displayed. And you actually are allowed to choose not to let people see or download the full-size version of whatever you put on DeviantArt. I can't visualize why someone would want to do that, but it is an option.
It's for commissions and copyright. So if a person actually commissions an artist to do something, the artist can still publish it just without the full resolution and lock out the full resolution, so that the person who commissioned the artist can have the full resolution version.
Ah, I see. Also, it has the option to put a little stamp thing on it, so that when people do download the demonstration version, it'll have that little logo imprinted on it.
Watermark is what that's called.
Yeah, that.
From the days of actual paper, if you guys remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, but back when people copied books by writing them by hand.
Wait, there was a day where we didn't have pads? What?
What are you talking about? We still use books all the time.
The Dark Ages.
Well, I've just brought up the tweet from Thomas.
The printing press was invented.
His instructions for download is on the DeviantArt page. There is on the right, click the download button to get a high resolution version. And then in brackets, it's 6K plus resolution. So in order to get the download link, you actually need to go to the image. So click on the image first. That'll bring up a bigger version for you to see. And on the right-hand side from there will be a download link. So, yeah, if you'd like to go get those, for the people with us live, we've actually put the link in both chats, and the links will be in the show notes for you.
Zeronius Rex also made a Reddit thread, or joined in on Thomas's, I can't remember which. She doesn't use DeviantArt, but she uploaded all of the posters that she made as well.
Do you have a link for that handy at all?
I will go find one.
Yeah, thanks. If you can put that in the show notes, then I'll make sure it's available for everybody. Release notes. There wasn't much in this week's release notes from July 1st. They resolved a couple of small issues. One was regarding being able to earn the weekly reward from Time in a Bottle. So people who did have issues, that should now be available. And they've also had a look at resolving an issue that prevented one of the battle cruisers and the Fleet Avenger class from being able to equip the cloaking device console. They've also extended the summer event by 1 day, so that will now run until the 17th of July. And that was related to the downtime last week, I think that was now, wasn't it? So, yeah, that
What was it, Wednesday or Thursday?
I think it was...
Or no, was it Wednesday after the patch, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those days. I don't know where the days have gone recently.
Like that.
Well,
I don't know. It was while I was all at work, so...
Well, the reason they did the patch early this week is so that players who had been having an issue with the mission rewards could actually play the mission now and get their reward for last week and still be able to get Thursday's reward, because the way things were going, the player, when they played the mission, was literally locked out over a full week, the people who were having the issue, to get the next set of rewards, and that's not the way it should have been. So they were fixing it so that people could get the rewards, and then Thursday, when Thursday came, that week's option was actually opened to everyone, including the people who had just like, you know, frantically tried to get that week's reward.
Well, from what I was told, the reason for the change of the day was actually because of the 4th of July celebrations, because it's a holiday weekend. So, from what I believe, because of that,
they're taking Friday off, like not all Americans, but a lot.
Yeah. So a lot of them weren't in the office today,
but
from what I understand.
Patch goes up on Thursday, not Friday.
Yeah, but it gives them an extra day, so if there's a problem, they've then got Thursday to fix it. Because if there's a problem with the patch on Thursday...
they usually wait a week to patch anything anyway.
Unless it's an emergency patch.
They do sometimes
do
the
emergency
stuff,
patches.
They need an emergency patch. Somebody will be in the office on Friday. I can guarantee that.
So, but yeah, the idea was that they wouldn't need to do that.
Time and a half. I don't know.
Emergency patches aren't something they can necessarily do immediately. It might take them a day or two to get the emergency patch done.
And it's not always about a patch either. It's, you know, the things that require them to take the game offline. You don't want to have people come in on a holiday to do that if you can avoid it.
Yeah. But from what was said, I can't remember where it was, if it was the forums or from speaking to some of the devs or something, but somebody had mentioned that the reason for it being a day early was because of the holiday weekend.
I want to be hopeful and say it's for all the players out there, not, you know, we're jealous pricks.
Oh, come on.
We wanted to take a day off, so...
The devs need a day of rest, right? Right?
Well,
maybe?
If you notice, every time we have one of these events, the summer event, the winter event, something always goes wrong. Always goes wrong, and they have to extend it by a couple of days.
Well, that's the nature of computer games. Something always goes wrong.
So,
Murphy's Law, right?
In that, right, that means that during a holiday, something is going to go wrong in Star Trek Online, which they're going to have people in the office anyway.
Well,
that's
only if they
the question is whether it's something major or minor.
Yeah, I think they might have people on standby, but I think as a general rule that everybody would sort of have a holiday weekend.
Cryptic nurses, they're on call.
Well, that's it for Star Trek Online news. So next we actually have a live Foundry review. So this is our roundtable segment where we're actually going to go through and play a mission. So, Woody, do you want to tell people what the mission is called as you picked it?
Yes, I picked the mission. They're going to play it. How's that work? The mission is called "The Ends Don't Justify the Means" by Zeus NCC 1701. So, how we're going to do this? We just head straight on over to the UNIS system now.
I think we'll need to
team up. One thing to note is that NCC whatever goes by the name Pax Federation on the forums.
Okay.
It's a different author, actually. It's not
different
Pax.
One.
Yep.
So we're going to go over and play it. So we'll make a team and all that, and
yep.
go over. All right, who's making team?
I'm just taking my summer equipment off because the last time I went to do a mission is just like, I've got a floater and a powerboard. Damn it! Where's my hypo?
Okay, so a Pax Federaticus NCC 89471, and you're talking about Zeus NCC 1701.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Just double checking to make sure I got the right one.
So I'll make team with the 4 of us that are here.
Are you able to share the
No,
mission?
of course. Unfortunately, no. They removed that ability for Foundry missions.
Apparently,
we have to
were
go accept it. Yeah. We have to do many things to combat exploiters.
Yeah, it definitely is a constant issue.
As the saying goes, and this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, don't worry. We had Farctoid on the show one time, and I mentioned the thing about with all the QA stuff, testing and stuff like that, and he should be getting, of course, his fair share of exploits. He's got to sort out and look at and figure out how they do it. And he says, some of the exploits he comes across and stuff like that, and they go, how on earth did they find that? Including in the Foundry. I'll see you over at Eunice.
Oops, I think we still need one more on our team here.
Do I need a hopping game?
Is that you,
Only if you want to join us.
Mark?
Right. Who's starting the team?
Already have.
We got one more spot.
Well, invite me.
Well, the beginning dialogue.
Okay,
box...
I already found one typo. It says, the ends don't justify the means. The first objective reached the mystique, except that they left out the E in reach.
There were only a couple typos that I noticed when I played this mission earlier this morning. It was mostly free, which is a good thing for any author.
Yeah, well,
Wait,
the first
they're
dialogue.
paid Foundry missions? What?
Well, the first dialogue
Bad
box
joke, I'm
goes,
sorry.
Admiral, I have an important mission for you, security level 15. Rendezvous with my ship, the Mystique, in the Una system. Admiral D out. So then it tells us to head to the Una system in Sirius Sector. And then it says, note, with sector space revamp, you may have to fly around the system to find the Una 2 system to enter. So it's good that they've put a nice little tip there. So people don't get lost.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten where the Una system was, so I used the list.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that because I'm not sure where it is.
If you go to the map, it's just sort of like about 1 o'clock from Riza.
Yeah, it's actually really close to Riza.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I notice it every so often when I fly down this way, I go past it and I see it flick up and say, oh, I'll go play that, so that's what I'm doing.
I wish they would add the parts system to the pop-up above Riser rather than just
That
only
would be
classic and resort, because having to close that and then click something to depart the system is, or at least have the usual exits map button enabled.
Now, Woody, do you know if this is Zeus's first mission? You have any others?
I can have a look.
Looking at lists, making sure it's not the first.
One suggestion that I would make to the author here is to make the prompt something less generic than Enter Una 2 system.
That's where I like to put the name of the mission so that people know exactly where that they are starting the mission. That's the button to click.
Because if you make it something generic like Enter Una 2 system, people might get confused by Well, they might confuse that with one of those generic patrol inter-system buttons.
Which this system happens to have.
Cryptic hasn't been particularly consistent in the way they start their missions, but I think the general modern standard is to just say begin and then in single quotes name of the mission.
I wish I could get into something like this. I mean, honestly. I tried looking at the Foundry once, and I had the same system shock that I had playing EVE Online. Just like, nope, gonna have to research.
It's complex, but it is doable.
Yeah, you start
like
simple.
EVE Online is complex but doable. You just have to sit
Yeah.
there and look through it.
Yeah, but unlike EVE Online, you don't have the other players trying to hunt you down and kill you and take your stuff.
Unless you script that into
Well,
the mission.
sometimes.
Idea for a future Foundry
Roundtable
Roundtable
we're
episode.
Ready to enter. There you go.
This is the author's only mission.
Only mission. Okay.
All right, nearing the Una system, Captain.
Enter.
I do like that he didn't load up heavy exposition in the beginning of the mission accept.
Yeah, and an easy way to get around that is to have the initial contact say, something about the, some reason they don't want to discuss it on an open channel, come see me in person. Yeah. Then you can do exposition.
I think the best way is to try and space out your exposition, not dump it all on them at the beginning, but kind of slowly reveal things.
My preferred explanation, or my preferred method of dealing with it is to set it so that you have a reason why you aren't just going to tell people everything. Like for the Beta Rana incident, the Admiralty tells you that they detected some sort of weird anomaly and they want you to investigate it. They don't know what the anomaly is, so they can't tell you what the anomaly is.
Yeah, it's there for you to discover.
To find out what it is.
That's why they're sending you in the first place. If they knew everything, they wouldn't need to send you. So we need to hail the Mystique, which is over to the left. Just become a test of who has the fastest engines.
Who got a head start?
Apparently it's me.
I have Admiral
now,
D on screen, Captain.
Read all the dialogue here, or
yeah, I think we should.
There's not a ton of dialogue, so it won't go too slow.
Fleet Admiral, thank you for joining me. I have a very sensitive mission to discuss with you. Please beam aboard so we can discuss the situation. I'm sending coordinates from my deck. Acknowledge. Wait, we really have a team of 5 engineers?
That is just
yes.
Guys,
that is like the best possible makeup you can have, right?
Exactly. At least you know you're going to have enough firepower in the form of turrets.
We won't actually need to fire a weapon. We'll just put down all our turrets and just let them do the job.
Well, no, it's not even that. You've got the turrets, you've got the support drones, you've even got, if you've got it equipped, the Shard of Possibilities, or the Alachi turret drone,
Maybe
or the little flamethrower
so many
drone.
Possibilities.
Which actually reminds me, is one of the recently discovered new items from the new fleet holding is fleet kits with powers from different professions on them.
Oh, so they are doing the crossover kits this
time. Yeah. Well, the power is built into the kit. It's not a mod. So I'm assuming it's a slightly weaker version of what a proper profession would get.
So it's kind of like locked to being a Mark 10 version of the module, and you can't upgrade it?
One thing to note here, as we're in this interior here, is that I believe this has been fixed on Tribble. This thing where you get certain areas that are black, that are dark, they don't have any lighting.
Yeah,
that was in the notes.
It looks like there's a glitch causing this area to be treated as shadowed when it.
Yeah,
That's
something
why you
probably.
got two NPCs
So
there
whenever
to fix it for you.
Whenever that build goes live, we should have that fixed.
A very big empty office you have here, sir.
This is one of the things I noticed when I came in here. There's a trap to using this map, which is that it is very, very big and empty, and you have to really work at it to make it not seem big and empty. Unless that's what you want.
Admiral, welcome to the mistake. This is one of Starfleet Intelligence. Okay, he misspelled intelligence. Mobile command centers, but you're not here for a tour. Let's get down to business. What I have to tell you is classified top secret. Only you. He used the wrong version of your command crew can know. Understood?
Understood, sir.
So you and you and you and you and everybody watching Twitch, don't tell nobody.
And he misspelled captain in the next button. Oh well. Excellent, let's get down to it then. Starfleet has been working on a highly classified project in the Kinger system headed by Captain John Marcos.
Captain Marcos? We become good friends after meeting him at a seminar on Earth. Sorry, I've got it on the screen, which is a few meters away from me, so it's a bit hard for me to read.
That is why I requested you specifically, Fleet Admiral. He has always spoken quite highly of you when discussing the work you two have done together.
What does this have to do with Captain Marcos?
We haven't heard from the base or Marcos in over 2 weeks. No communications, no reports, nothing. All attempts to contact him or the base have ended in silence. We don't have the resources to track him down right now, and that brings us to the reason of this discussion. Fleet Admiral, we need your help, off the books, to find out what happened to him, and if he has defected or gone rogue, stop him before anything bad can happen.
My crew and I won't have any Starfleet support?
I'm afraid. Okay, we actually have a fleet of 5, but whatever.
He doesn't know.
Apparently this is written
More
as
the
a
merrier.
solo mission.
Yeah, this is written for solo. Yes, sir.
Like most
we'll
of them.
set course to the Kinjar right away.
Course set in, waiting for you to beam back, sir.
Energize.
That's some impressive trick you got there with your knees, sir.
That was a pretty good thing of all of us actually pressing their com badges all at the same time.
It's years of training that we did before.
Of course, you probably didn't
4 years
see
of
it because
Starfleet
I was
Academy.
standing on the hologram table when I did it.
One thing that's always bugged me in games
Synchronized comm badges is a required course at the Academy.
Well, your NPCs do it with you, and that's always bugged me because, of course, in the TV shows, it's always the team lead that hails the ship to say beam up. So all your NPCs shouldn't be hitting their comm badges. So it's just like, don't you dare do that. That's my
because
job.
all the Federation
that was
people have
40
one
years ago.
beam-in animation that
Protocol
includes the.
My best explanation for why they do it in STO is that they're using the comm badges as a transporter relay. So tapping the comm badge sends a signal to the transporters that can be locked onto, yada, yada, yada.
I really like to know one if they have to press the com badge when you're leaving from a transporter pad.
Supposedly, the comm badge allows them to have a lock on you all the time. Not to mention your life signs.
It's the on-off switch for transporters and communications, guys. Come on.
No life signs
We're
detected.
overthinking it.
And he left out a space
Like we like to
in
do.
between. Oh well. No life signs detected. We should beam down for a closer look.
Away team to transporter room 1.
Just realized I'm still wearing my casual clothes and never changed into my uniform.
Oh yeah, your t-shirt.
You're showing
and,
off the guns.
So
let me rephrase it. Sleeveless t-shirt.
what's the deal with the spinning?
Thought I'd show off my piloting skills.
It's more like drifting skills.
I should point out that what Mark is doing may sound nitpicky, but he is actually doing one of the best things you can do for a Foundry author, and that is point out where all of the typos are, because they are a pain to find.
It is very hard for us to see our own typos.
I once typed up a 2-page document in Notepad, not Word, Notepad, outlining all of the typographical errors that someone made in one of their missions. Why? Because the native language of the person writing the mission was Dutch, and, well, some of the things that they put in there were things that might have made sense with Dutch grammar, but not English grammar.
It's one of the best things you can do for a Foundry author is do a live play of their mission like this, because you find all of those little things that they wouldn't find themselves. I've seen it in my own missions when people have played them, and I've watched. Oh, I can change that. I can change that. I can change that. I can fix that.
May synchronize our beam ups, but we certainly don't our beam downs.
And
or like when you run a mission with Woody Valley, and the first thing he does is jump out an open window that you didn't think anybody would jump out of. If Woody remembers that.
I don't remember that, actually.
That's all right. It was like 3 years ago.
That's probably why.
Sir, the lock panel is set for certain biometric signals. I don't think signals should be... all right, never mind. However, scans are showing a faint...
You didn't misspell certain, though.
Okay. However, scans are showing faint
AI.
power signature coming from underground. Scans indicate the power is coming from a source away from the base. If we find the source, we may be able to find an alternative way in.
We need to find the back door.
Good luck getting her to agree to that.
Did I ever tell you that I love frosted boots?
As he scoots away from the rest of us.
They're part of a well-balanced breakfast, actually.
Thank you, somebody, for making a cereal joke there.
Scans did not pick up anything unusual.
Simple from.
But we should proceed with caution.
Everyone stay alert.
Guessing there's a thing down here.
Set phasers to stun.
Set phasers to vaporize. Oh wait, I'm not using a phaser.
Got my Mako on.
I'd love that they had some sort of, variable mechanic like that where you could actually set your phasers to stun if you wanted.
Well, that's one of those longer...
Missions do have an option for that, but only those specific missions.
Yeah, just a couple.
I know one of the long requested Foundry features was
a cheat. Essentially,
it makes sense to me to assume that not necessarily everyone that you shoot dies, because let's face it, a lot of the time you shoot NPCs, they fall down, and then you see them later.
Well, Neverwinter's Foundry can do instead of a kill, it's basically it takes them down to stops at 10% and counts that as a kill, so they don't actually die.
You know what's really funny? You ever been in the Voth, the ground battle zone, with one of the old TOS phasers, and you vaporize one of the Voth, and suddenly they just get right back up?
The vaporization thing is not corpse disposal. It is simply an emote.
The corpse is still there.
Oh, I know, but just having that happen
it makes it look really
hilarious. Like, I just vaporized you. How did you reconstitute and get back up?
Oops, I clicked the button.
Captain, scans are picking up a flux in energy. I think we may have triggered a security system.
What kind of security system?
You have triggered the automated security system for this base. Please enter the proper security code to identify yourself.
We are looking for Captain.
Code incorrect. Unauthorized access protocol 001 has been activated. No more communication will be accepted.
This seems like a failed deadly system to me, and I don't like.
Maybe a bit overkill.
I was going to say, I mean,
for a lot of
Windows gives me at least 3 attempts to remember my password.
I guess
this
we'll
is
have
not
to
a
fight
Microsoft
away.
product.
Yeah.
Is Microsoft still around in 2014?
Technically, no. But
they're now a subsidiary of
software-wise?
Starbucks, which controls everything.
They're now open
Software-wise,
source.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could say if you want to get technical, there is no money in 2410, so I don't think there are really corporations.
After the merger with Apple in, what was it, 2525? Yeah.
So that's what the hurricane generator does in close quarters. That's actually pretty impressive. In an open environment, that would suck, though, I think.
Yeah, I had never actually deployed that thing yet before, so that's pretty cool.
I can imagine
I like the
idea behind it is you stand in the center of it, so enemies have to come to you.
Yeah,
the consoles
but
in the room
most
can
enemies
tell
will
us.
just stand back and shoot.
Consoles in the room can
That'd
tell
be
us the
great
status
for
of
the
base
board.
environmental systems. If they're offline, we may be able to get at least basic life support back up and running.
Bases should have an apostrophe because it's a possessive.
Seriously, if you ever want to have your mission tested, have Mark play it.
He's good
So,
proofreader.
who's reading this?
Environmental controls back online.
He misspelled environmental in the mission objectives.
Needs an N.
very
Second
good.
N.
Let's find the way in.
This is interesting what he did with the pipes, because I've done similar things in missions, except when I did it, I attached them to the ceiling.
Yeah, I liked this when I first came through here. I was like, it's kind of neat because we're going in the back door and we're following these conduits along. It's like it's something you might actually do.
Yeah. Probably the only thing I find with these automatic defense drones, as usual, it's a reskin, different characters, but it probably would have been good to actually use the Terran Empire groups instead of the Gorn and Klingon groups.
What enemy type was that? Because that was kind of pitiful.
That was Gorn.
Gorn, I think, right?
Yeah.
Well, there are 5 of us here who have
Yeah,
lots of
that's
nice gear on.
That's what I sort of mean, because it's sort of like he's put
And we're on normal.
like Gorn and Klingon groups down, but of course they have those animal
Now
masters.
he does say something about that
characters
later in the dialogue.
Yeah.
So he does.
There's power to the lift behind that
you
door.
might say.
We should be able to reach the interior of the base.
Acknowledged.
MidNite, you're making me sick.
There's the pop-ups. It seems to get stuck when moving. It's really annoying.
We should stay alert for any automated defense systems while we look for information.
Understood.
In case anyone's wondering, I came up with this white outfit during the last Winter Wonderland and never felt the need to change it.
We'll call it your stormtrooper outfit.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought
Or
of after I
snowtrooper.
finished making it. I mean, especially with the way your character holds the rifle, because it looks almost exactly the same way the stormtroopers were always shown carrying rifles.
Fortunately, you can actually hit things with that rifle.
On a good day, anyways.
This looks like
So
a
now
meeting
it's
room of
proper
some sort.
Holosuite media show, because we're making references to things that aren't Star Trek. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You may be able to get
This
some
looks-
information from the consoles in here.
I was
Continue.
about to say that.
I don't know if people can hear it in the background, but I do have some thunder going on.
That's weird. We got some thunder going on in this mission.
Fun. Yeah, I felt the hurricane was appropriate.
Yeah, it is a relatively short-range effect, isn't it?
Yeah, but if
it's
you
a
can get
display from Memory Alpha.
They're pretty.
it still exists in our minds.
Hey there, little display.
We
were
need
talking
to kill
about you
things when
earlier.
they're outside the room. I love Orbital Strike.
Yes, and against it, all other powers are
Mine's better.
meaningless. These crates are putting off readings of boromite. That's an ore used to synthesize. No, it can't be. That's used to make omega molecules.
Omega molecule? Starfleet wouldn't.
We should
Oh,
investigate
yes, they
more to be
would.
certain.
Agreed.
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is that boron is an actual element and not a dangerous.
This is
I think
boromite.
he said boronite. Or boromite.
Like
It's
dilithium being
for
nothing like
traces.
lithium.
All right. If they were making a omega molecule weapon here, we need to find and stop it. The entire galaxy could be at risk.
He misspelled
Acknowledged.
Omega in this one.
So what we have here is a Federation captain who's gone rogue and is making an omega weapon. That spells trouble.
Is that a breach of the Prime Directive?
Not
he
the
just
Prime
didn't
Directive
want to-
specifically.
He wanted to hurry up and
You
get
wanted
through the
Orbital
Omega
Strike? Have a
reputation
look at
system.
this.
I can say it's a breach of the Omega Directive, but why, yes, those are my ship's phasers firing at you.
Through the ceiling.
This thing is, though, my ship actually,
And
my
a
ship
quarter mile
actually
of
goes around
It's a-
with
it's a drilling
disruptor.
weapon.
And this is why I love that my ship flies phaser.
Do you have some memory alpha things here? If that's a memory alpha thing.
Now, one thing I
He
would
put together
recommend
some
to him.
interesting collections of consoles because, as far as I know, it doesn't have this particular collection of consoles as a single object.
Well, we do have them.
One thing I'd recommend to him though is to start using some walls to kind of break up the big open space in here. Makes your rooms seem a little bit better if they're not quite so big, and then you can
Also,
set some different objectives in those rooms too.
if you were to arrange the objects in the interior and make it feel like the giant open space has a purpose, that can also make it feel less like a void.
Yeah, like
You
there's
always
some
litter the
big
ground with some
central
dead
element.
people.
I mean, because
Some
like
central
with
element like a reactor or something.
well, like with the main room on Memory Alpha, that was an enormous room, but it didn't feel like a void because of the way it was structured.
And these are things that
Definitely.
authors tend to learn as they get better and better with the Foundry.
Yes.
Be nice,
But I
guys.
like that
this
he
is
is-
his first Foundry mission, remember?
Well, true,
Well,
and I don't want
do
to.
like that. I mean, he is putting down lots of objects, lots of custom objects. He's not just using this and not putting anything in it. So I mean, he's graduated to that level already. So that's good.
It's not actually an empty room. It just feels like it because it's relatively.
Interesting. The automatic defense system is programmed with multiple race attack protocols. That explains the Klingon weapons in the cave and the hallways. However, there are encrypted files. If we link with a ship's computer, we can use the superior computing power and decrypt them.
That was a cool way of explaining things.
I actually think that's a reference to...
Yeah, he's explaining why he has to reskin other mobs to make it do what he wants.
And they push the button.
I have decrypted the files. It seems that it seems to be Dr. Marco's personal logs.
Let's see them.
The Borg continue to invade our space. We push back and they just advance with even bigger force. We can't stop them, not with conventional means. There's only one way to stop them. I'm going to pilot a ship powered, okay, he left out an E, with an Omega engine and self-destructed in the Delta Quadrant. It's the only way. To anyone seeing these logs, please tell my family I love them.
John, what are you doing?
Ship to Captain. Ships are warping in. We need you back up here right away.
Acknowledged.
I've downloaded the logs and severed the uplink.
Very good. Engage.
Energize.
Does anybody else notice how similar this is to the whole Voth arc?
I would go with inspired by.
Never did actually find. I guess, yeah, they were.
They wanted the Omega so that they could actually create their own pocket of space, like literally, so they could be xenophobes in their own space.
Yeah, they literally wanted to be able to seal off their region from the rest of the galaxy.
Thing is, if you went around the Voth,
it would have worked, but it was their idea.
Thing is, if you went around the Voth area, you learned that the reason they're doing that is because basically they're being attacked, and they just want to sort of be free of people bothering them, and so they want. But we don't. Did we ever learn who it was that was actually fighting them?
It was the Borg, wasn't it?
The Undine. I thought
it was the Undine. I couldn't remember.
Because in all the little cutscenes, the weapons fire isn't Undine. It's like that Borg green, that weird disruptor plasma kind of green.
I've been able to locate Dr. Marcos' warp trail. The shoot course laid in.
Well, that was quick but brutal.
Well, considering we're a max level. Maximum
I can
warp?
tell you it lasts a little bit longer when you're solo.
Engage.
A little bit.
Shadow Wraith 77 in the Whole Sweet Media chat says, ships? What ships?
You mean those puffs of smoke that appeared on the sensors?
Maybe it was just a blip after all.
And for anybody who's new to the Foundry, you will notice that map loading does take an awful lot longer than it does for a standard cryptic mission. Don't complain to the author about that, because there's not much they can do.
One thing someone once told me is that anything before 40% is actually the game spawning the instance that you're going to enter, and everything after 40% is it actually loading the map.
Yeah, because I had noticed that getting up to 40 does seem to take an awful lot longer.
You also notice it on, if you're going into a regular in-game map that nobody else is in. It has to generate that instance, because it doesn't just always keep an instance open of every map everywhere.
Yeah. It's same with
only generates it if
fleet
people are
holdings
going
too.
into it. Yeah, fleet holdings is where you see it.
Yeah.
Malati Kasumu, of course they would send you to try to find.
Captain Marcos, please power down your engines.
I'm sorry, I can't. That's the only way to stop them. The countless deaths at Wolf 359, they still come. Captain Picard and Admiral Janeway went back in time and stopped them. They still come. Skirmishes in every sector. Task forces created. They still come. It must end.
I understand your frustration, but...
No, there is no but about it. I've thought long and hard about this. There is no other.
But it could ruin the whole Delta Quadrant.
The Quadrant was unable to stop them. They allowed them to come here. They allowed them to exist.
It will take more than one quadrant to stop the Borg.
Okay, he misspoke twice. Maybe, but we cannot wait for that when we must strike now.
John, you cannot really be willing to do this. That should be a question mark at the end.
Admiral, we can fire a graviton pulse that will overload his beams and shut down the Omega engine.
I'm sure we can talk him down.
I have thought this through. Okay, he misspelled sacrifice. Of the Delta Quadrant is a small price to pay for the end of a greater enemy.
John, would you ruin your legacy like this?
I am sorry to let you down like this.
Then don't. Please don't make me fire on you.
Do what you must.
Ready, graviton pulse.
I'm sorry, Admiral, but there is no other option.
Perhaps, but I can't allow you to do this.
Sensors are picking up increasing power levels from the transwarp gate.
I think there should be a comma instead of a period after Fleet Admiral there.
Fire pulse.
You are always a quick thinker, Admiral. Using a graviton pulse to knock out my Omega engine, I'm lowering my shield and preparing to beam aboard.
Thank you, John. Transporter room, beam him aboard.
Wait, that was really the end of the mission? Okay, then.
Yeah, for once you actually talked him down. More or less.
But the thing is that it could be ready for part 2.
It could be a sequel hook.
Okay, I will admit that wasn't the most...
still alive. His ship is still intact.
I will admit it wasn't the most climactic ending, but I did like that exchange at the end. It felt really... thought it worked really well.
It's like something Captain Picard would do.
Well,
talk to the guy.
It definitely has that Equinox vibe from Voyager. We have to do the thing because
there's a little bit of that.
We have to do the thing. We don't care about Starfleet. We have to do the thing because it's the only way to do the thing.
And we all know how the Equinox story ended.
Yes, with talking the captain down.
Yes, talking the captain down, but not... oh god, who was that guy? The first officer.
Belana's old friend.
It was Titus Welliver. I know the actor's name.
Ramsey, no.
Dude, they refer to each other by their initials.
BLT and...
They call it BLT. What did she call him?
And
I can't remember. It's been too long since I've seen that episode.
Just gonna have to go and watch it again. Also, new STO enemy. Those aliens.
It's true. This is one of the Delta Quadrant races we haven't seen yet.
Well, one thing that I've always been curious what Cryptic would do with if they were to use them is the FGC-47 life forms. Why? Because it's one of the rare occasions where they introduced a race that wasn't a humanoid, but also wasn't like either A, ridiculously evil, or B, ridiculously powerful. They were just, the main conflict with them was that they didn't really understand people, or humanoids in general, I suppose I should say.
Maxwell Burke. And I got it just as Captain PF Dennis typed it in our Foundry Roundtable chat room.
Hey, Cap.
That's right.
So,
because what was his nickname, though?
What?
What was his nickname?
Oh, I don't know.
Coming Captain PF Dennis.
I think it was just Max.
Because I'm sure he had a nickname as well.
You know what enemy I'd like to see more of?
Memory Alpha doesn't say.
Maybe it was just Max.
I'd like to.
What's that?
I'd like to see more of that whatever that species was that was like the spider in the web when he was trying to convince Janeway that she was dying, and he was like vying for her immortal soul.
Yeah, the near-death copy of her father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of hated that one, and I'm happy never to have seen it again.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that episode was weird as all get out.
It was confusing a bit.
Well,
yeah.
It looks like they were trying to set up a long-term enemy and then just went nowhere with it, kind of like what they did with the bluegills.
Well, the problem is that the first half of the episode kind of does one thing and then it shifts gears and it's something else.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because you have this weird repeating time thing at the beginning, and then it turns into Janeway's dying, get used to it.
Well, my best understanding of the episode is that what appears to be a weird repeating time thing at the beginning is actually a hallucination that Janeway's suffering from.
Yeah, but the fact that Chakotay is aware of it makes it weird.
Coda is the episode title that we're talking about.
Anyway.
Yeah, but wasn't the whole thing like that first whole exposition was that she was trying to relive the seconds before she died, trying to fix everything.
Yeah, maybe it just wasn't presented very well.
Well, it's early Voyager, take it.
I just noticed that this mission has an estimated play length of 18 minutes when you look at the button in sector space.
I'd say it took us about, 45?
Yeah, but
it depends on how quickly you run.
Time talking than most people would.
Did you guys have anything you wanted to finish up with?
Sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, did you guys have something you wanted to finish up with? Because I know we're kind of starting to get close to the end of our.
Yeah, we've just got a couple of bits to quickly go through. Star Trek news. We've got some updates on projects. Nana Visitor has had surgery. She tweeted that she says, "I haven't been around." She's had a 5-hour surgery to remove a bone growing in her spinal cord, which she had on Tuesday. And she says she's all good now. So I hope she has a speedy recovery. The Star Trek Captain Pike Indiegogo that was looking to hit the 50,000 target, which, as we mentioned last week, has been met. And they're looking to get the 80,000 so they don't have to do another fundraiser for the visual effects. So there's 5 days remaining. So please, if this is a program you would actually enjoy to watch, please support them. If you'd like to know more, then have a look at Tribbles and Ecstasy episode 169, because we actually spoke to some of the people behind that at that point. We've had a couple of projects that have finished this week. Star Trek New Voyages Phase 2. They completed theirs. Their target was 20,000, and their first stretch goal was 50,000, which was also hit. Again, if you'd like to know more about that, we interviewed them in episode 171. The second project to be completed this week was For the Love of Spock, which is the documentary film by Adam Nimoy. So this was the project that he started going through with his dad before he passed. The goal was 600,000, and he managed to raise 663,000. If you'd like to know more about them, our friends over at Priority One actually interviewed Adam Nimoy in episode 227. So please take a listen to find out more about that one. I think also that I heard that they were For the Love of Spock. That was actually the most successful documentary Kickstarter that they've had on Kickstarter.com. So congratulations. there's been a few updates from Star Trek Anthology. They've announced that they've got some shoots coming up for a logical solution, which is the title of the episode. They've been shooting some scenes for that, and they even made the local paper. In 8 weeks, they're doing the next shoot, and they're looking for donations to help with wardrobe, makeup, props, and costs. And there's a link on their website you can go to donate through something like PayPal. So you go to startrek-support-hour-next-production, and you can donate and help them. They've also got a new newsletter that's now available for sign up, and they've got a video where the creator Jim Bray, who we interviewed in episode 159, does an overview of what to expect from the Starship Challenger. So please head over to their website or their Facebook page and have a look.
I always like to say that the fan productions are a lot like what we do in the Foundry, just on an even bigger scale.
Yeah. And if you want to see more Star Trek, well, especially on the small screen, this is what we've got at the moment. So if it's something that you're interested in and you have a little bit of spare cash, please donate what you can. Even if it's not a lot and it's just a couple of dollars, and you don't do it for the perk, but just to support them, sort of every little helps. Star Trek Beyond, TrekCore.com have been releasing a couple of blogs, basically just saying filming is underway, and there's a couple of photos that they've got with the crew out in public, and there's also one with one of the uniforms with the UFP patch. They've also announced that although the filming in Vancouver is underway, there is plans very soon to be travelling to Dubai for another part of the film. So, yeah, good luck to all the cast and crew. They've obviously got a tight schedule to get this done, given how late they've started filming and the release date next year. So, now, I think the final item on today's schedule is a discussion topic which has been put in, which was, how has the top 3 system impacted the Foundry? So yeah, open this up to the rest of you. What about the guys from the Foundry Roundtable first? How have you, as authors, have you found that the top 3 system has sort of impacted your plays, your ratings, and other people's feedback?
Well, I would say anecdotally, we've seen increases in plays, especially for people who put their missions on near travel routes. But it's something we were kind of discussing before we started the show. Our opinions about it are actually kind of meaningless, because I mean the whole point of the top 3 system is to get the Foundry out in front of non-authors. So we're kind of curious to hear what you non-authors think about the top 3 system. Has this impacted how you play?
Not really. No, I avoided the like when I go through a system, I avoid patrol missions. So having the Foundry top 3 is like seeing another patrol mission to me, and it's kind of a shame because I know there are a lot of people who do really good missions. It's just it doesn't interest me, and and yeah, people can bring up like the daily rewards and stuff again, but it's just like, why do it? But that's just me.
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of gameplay you like. I mean, if you're in it for the rewards, obviously the Foundry is probably not the best paying out, but if you're in it for the story.
Yeah. Because unfortunately I don't get much time. Before today, the last time I actually played was the last time I appeared on the Foundry Roundtable, where we tried out the top 3 on that occasion. I'm hoping in the next couple of months to actually get a bit more time in game where I can actually sort of play around and do some more Foundry missions. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Just need more time, but I'm involved in too many other things to really get the time to play some of these missions, and some of the ones which are really story heavy can be quite lengthy. Sort of some, of course, being sort of around an hour in length. I know there's a lot where the stories are a lot less.
I've seen some would be over an hour. And then there's some of the creative people who manage to write a mission so that there's more than one story and you have to play it more than once to get the whole story.
And see, and that's another thing.
There was the epic 3-hour mission.
The Foundry is such a mixed bag at times. I think that's another one of those things that puts me off, is because I know that there are really great missions out there, but if I found a really good story, I'd probably only play that story and not look for anything else, because you can get like these really weird missions that seem to go off nowhere, and it's like, what? And then there's like ones that have the 2 and 3 and 4 mission arcs, and it just gets. There's this place where doing those missions, yeah, some of those missions are consistent through and through and through, but some of those missions, people put those missions together and everything just kind of falls off doing those missions. Like doing episode 3 and 4, things just start falling apart and you're like, what's going on anymore?
Well, one mission series that I remember from the early days of the Foundry was this series called Flight of the Kitty Hawk. I don't know exactly how many episodes were in that mission series. I think the person who wrote it literally filled their entire mission list with episodes of that mission. Because they managed to... What it was, this ship was attacked by Klingons, and you're sent by Starfleet to retrieve the ship. The problem here is that the Klingons chased them into the dark depths of unexplored space, and you have to go follow them and not only find them, but figure out where they went before you can find them, which of course is an adequate way of making it so that what could be done as a single episode ends up getting stretched out into 24 episodes, and actually is fun to play through even though it has 24 episodes.
That is the thing that you run into with Foundry missions, is because it's user-generated content, you have people who are, not professional game developers, not professional writers, not professional anything to do with anything Foundry-related. And so you come up with a huge variety of quality levels, yes, but also a huge variety of ideas that, Cryptic would never have the time to do. So it is a mixed bag, but there's a lot of fun stuff in that bag. And one of the things that the top 3 system does is when a mission pops up there, these are the top missions at this system. So these are missions that other people played and rated highly. Not, perfectly, and not all 5 stars, but highly.
Well, or it's one of the top 3 out of 3. But
yes, true.
What you're saying reminded me of something someone said about the early days of Hollywood, is that the studios were more likely to be adventurous and try things that hadn't been done before, simply because they didn't have an expectation as to whether or not it would do well or badly. They would just kind of like go with like, well, that sounds like something cool that people might want to watch, and then they'd make it into a movie instead of trying to do this, whole thing of figuring out whether it will be profitable before they even make the movie, yada, yada, yada. And some people think that that has stifled the creativity of Hollywood. Well, I can't really say either way. It does kind of give me, taking it back to the Foundry, is that Foundry authors will basically just like do whatever they think sounds like it might be an interesting story, unlike professional game developers who do all sorts of things to decide whether they would think it will be a popular story.
I guess that, I mean, it kind of exists on a curve of you, or a line that you have. On the one hand, you've got consistency, and on the other, you've got creativity. Obviously, creativity produces far more highs and lows, and then you've got consistency, which tends to be the more formulaic.
Now, you guys have actually got a website, starbaseugc.com, which is a resource which people could also use to find missions to play, don't you?
It's not really ours, but we sort of live there.
You haven't kicked us out yet.
It's a website that was set up by a Foundry author named Kirkvat way in the beginning of the Foundry, before it had even gone out to the public. And it's kind of a clearinghouse of Foundry related podcasts and tutorials and all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, if you're looking for a mission and you'd like to read some reviews and find something that you would enjoy, please head over there and take a listen to the podcasts, or just go through the posts, because they're all sort of up there. So apart from starbaseugc.com, where else can people find you guys?
Probably the best way for most of us is on Twitter. My @handle is @Drogyn, DROGYN 1701. Dragoon, what is yours?
Mine is @Greendragoon. But Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's.
And Mark, I think, generally is best available in the game itself. What's your @handle there, Mark?
I am @Markhawkman.
Which is also his Twitter handle.
He does. We try and encourage him to use it a lot.
I have occasionally been known to use Twitter. Sometimes.
When there's a razor to your head.
We've also got a Twitter handle for the podcast itself, and that is @Foundry Roundtable, because Twitter has a limit on the length of handles, and we had to lop off the
it has
LE.
to be 15 characters.
Yes. And for the benefit of our listeners, Steve, why don't you tell us where people can find Tribbles and Ecstasy?
People can find the Tribbles and Ecstasy show all over the web. You've got Star Trek Riser, you've got Twitter, and that's @Tribbles in XTC, and you can get us on Facebook and Google Plus @Tribbles in Ecstasy, written out in full. And people can find me @MidNite Shadow 7, and that's night spelt NITE and the number 7. Sunseahl, where can people find you?
At this point, I only have a Facebook fan page, so facebook.com/SunseahlFan.
And Woody?
Twitter's the best one for me. It's @Woody_Valley. Capital W, capital V.
And people can also hear Tribbles and Ecstasy on trekradio.net and subspace-radio.net, as well, as we are syndicated on Wednesdays on both those channels. Last week when we interviewed Laughing Trendy from Perfect World Entertainment, we ran a competition where people had to post onto the forums, and we asked people to do one of 3 things in order to win one of 3 1,500 Zen. So the first thing people were asked to do in their reply was to say, how many characters do I have? The second thing was to name the name of the new forum software that drives the Perfect World forums. And the third task was to actually just make a post. So even if you didn't answer those questions, then you still had a chance to win. Now, for just posting, the winner is Mark James 1, and these, of course, are people's handles in the forums. For the number of characters that I have, the winner is Smee in 1T, and the correct answer was actually 44. The last time I announced how many I only had 41. Although not too long before then,
you sneaky little you need to stop doing that.
And it wasn't too long on the G&T show that I said that I had 40. So I was accepting 40, 41, or 44. So congratulations. And for naming Vanilla as the name of the new forum software, we have Swamarian. So congratulations to the three of you. I will be sorting out getting you your codes for the 1500 Zen.
Also, make sure you PM them on the forums just to let them know that they won in case they're not here.
Yeah, I will be putting on the forums into the same post, which is last week's episode post, who the winners are, as well as the announcement in this week's post as well.
You know, the funny thing is, who was it? Taco Fangs was like 3 away from you. Because Taco Fangs made a joke post and literally said 47.
I know. He does like to troll people.
But he wouldn't have been wrong.
But I think that's what I'm going to have to do, is to actually aim to get 47. And I do have 3 free slots, so I will have to make it so.
Yes, but then you'll be stuck at that number. You can't go over without disrupting the balance.
Well, actually, I can go over, because that's actually over 3 accounts, so...
Good God.
I'm crazy! Okay. Well...
And on that bombshell...
Oh, boy. Boy, I'm really glad Starfleet's finally fixed out all this temporal stuff so we can get back to us being ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have the stream separated by next week.
We can finally perform the temporal scission.
Let us finish the show so we can go tackle MidNite Shadow and tie him down and give him his medication again.
Oh. Now, of course, you're not usually live on Friday nights, so Drogon, you just want to... When can people find you live?
Generally speaking, we go on Wednesdays at... I guess, let's see, what's the best time zone to put this? We'll go with Pacific time.
7:30 Eastern.
PM Pacific time.
Yeah.
7:30 Eastern.
Okay.
We have all of our hosts come from different time zones, so...
Yes, of course, with our own podcast, we've got people in Australia, UK, and different time zones of America. So, yes, a bit of a headache when it comes to time zones, especially when they change with daylight savings. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will catch you all next week.
Night, everyone.
Later.
Live long and prosper.